Have you ever felt like you have to hold everything together? We often think Jesus' words about worry are just a call to not be anxious, but his message goes deeper. Today, let's step into this truth and release the weight we were never meant to carry. Let's begin. Luke 12, verses 22 through 34 offers profound comfort. Most of us have read this familiar passage and heard its message about trusting God, yet we often miss the depth of Jesus' words. We walk away thinking we should simply stop worrying. But Jesus' message isn't just a call to let go of anxiety. It's a reminder of two crucial truths that can transform our hearts. In the previous parable, Jesus describes a man whose crops produced abundantly, yet his desire for security led him to build bigger barns. But God tells him that his life will be demanded of him that very night, reminding us that earthly security is fleeting. Jesus uses this story to expose our tendency toward greed and our desire to control the future, even though our lives are not permanent and never truly in our hands. Next, Jesus gives the illustration of the ravens and the lilies, saying, "Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds?" Luke 12, verse 24. He asks, "And can any of you by worrying add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest?" We often hear this as a simple encouragement not to worry. But there's something deeper. It's not just about anxiety management. It's about recognizing that our lives have never been under our control. I see this in myself all the time. When I replay conversations in my head, plan for every worst-case scenario, or exhaust myself with what-ifs, as if worry might somehow protect me. But striving against life's unpredictability only deepens the fear. We convince ourselves that our effort is making things better, but really it just anchors us in a false reality where we forget that God is already taking care of us. We can't save ourselves. We didn't choose our birth or determine the length of our lives. God did. We don't even know how many unseen dangers He has spared us from. This truth is meant to free us, but so often we struggle against it. The world constantly feeds us the lie that control is possible. We're bombarded with messages telling us to work harder, do more, and manage every part of our lives. But through all that noise, God quietly whispers, "Stop striving." When we surrender our need to control and let God care for us, we finally step back into reality. We stop living in the delusion that our worry can solve anything and begin to rest in God's sovereignty. But Jesus doesn't stop there. There's another truth we often overlook. God doesn't just want us to stop striving. He loves us deeply. Jesus says, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Luke 12, verse 32. Not only is it God's will to take care of us, but it gives Him pleasure to do so. He wants to give us good things even more than we want them for ourselves. This is the truth that disarms our anxiety. When we trust that God's love is not only real, but that He delights in caring for us, we finally find rest. The peace we seek doesn't come from striving or controlling. It comes from knowing that God loves us enough to give us His very best. Jesus isn't condemning us for worrying. He's showing us the truth. Anxiety arises from the lie that we are in control. But when we trust God's love and care, we realize He can provide far more than we could ever manage on our own. So what does this mean for us practically? How do we know when to plan and when to surrender? If your heart is surrendered to God, then plan, act, and work. But when fear grips you, when you're trying to control every detail and struggling to trust God, that's your cue to pause. Return to Him and relinquish control. When you let go and trust Him, He will guide your steps. Ultimately, surrender isn't about doing nothing. It's about trusting God with everything. It's recognizing that your life is not yours to manage, and that God is far more capable of leading you into peace than you are of controlling any outcome. And when you rest in His care, anxiety fades, and you step into the peace of the kingdom He already longs to give you. If you've struggled to let God have control, what helps you surrender your worries to God? Share a thought or prayer request in the comments, and let's encourage one another to trust that God's love is the safest thing we could surrender to.